My family had secret betting pools on my life and sabotaged my career after secretly feeding me meat for years when I was vegetarian. Hey Reddit, longtime lurker here, but I really need some perspective on this situation. I, 28F, recently discovered something about my family that has me questioning everything about my childhood and our relationships. For some background, I became a vegetarian when I was 15 after our class did a project on factory farming. The footage and information really affected me, and I decided I couldn't contribute to that industry anymore. My parents, especially my mom, 52F, were immediately against it. They come from a traditional meat and potatoes background where every meal needs to have meat to be complete. My dad, 54M, at least tried to understand at first. He would ask me questions about my research and seemed interested in my reasons. But my mom was openly hostile about it from day one. She'd make comments at every meal about how I was embarrassing the family and trying to be different just for attention. Our extended family wasn't any better. My uncle Mike, 49M, would wave bacon in my face at family breakfasts, thinking he was hilarious. My grandma, 75F, would constantly try to sneak meat onto my plate, saying just a little bit won't hurt. Even my younger sister, 26F, got in on it, making exaggerated sounds while eating meat in front of me. Despite all this, I stuck to my principles. I learned to cook my own meals, joined vegetarian groups at school for support, and did extensive research on nutrition to make sure I was staying healthy. I even started growing my own vegetables in our backyard. My mom complained that the garden ruined her lawn aesthetic, but I was determined to be self-sufficient. Every family gathering became a battleground. Thanksgiving was especially bad. My mom would forget to make any vegetarian sides, so I'd end up eating just plain rolls while everyone made comments about how I was ruining the holiday by not eating turkey. Christmas wasn't much better. My extended family would compete to see who could make the most comments about my face and when I would grow out of it. I ended up stopping being vegetarian during my junior year of college. I developed some health issues, severe anemia that wasn't responding well to supplements. My doctor suggested adding some meat back into my diet. It wasn't an easy decision, but my health had to come first. I still ate mostly vegetarian but would occasionally have meat when my body seemed to need it. Now here's where things get really messed up. Last week, I was at my cousin Sarah's, 30F, wedding. It was a beautiful ceremony, and everything was going fine until the reception. Uncle Mike got pretty drunk and started telling stories about the good old days. That's when he dropped the bomb that shattered my entire worldview. He started laughing about how for years, the entire time I was vegetarian, my whole family had been secretly feeding me meat. Not just once or twice, but systematically, as part of some sick game they were all playing. They had an actual organized competition to see who could trick me into eating meat the most times. As he talked, other family members joined in, sharing their clever tricks. My mom would make 2 versions of everything, one normal and one special for me with hidden meat products. She would cook rice and chicken broth but tell me it was vegetable broth. She would fry vegetables in bacon grease. She even mixed ground beef into my veggie burgers. My grandma was apparently the champion of their little game. She would grind up bacon and hide it in everything, soups, salads, casseroles. She bragged about how she won their competition by sneaking the most protein into my food. They all thought this was hilarious, laughing and sharing their favorite memories of deceiving me. When I sat there in shock, they tried to justify it by saying they were doing it for my own good because I needed the protein. But they couldn't even keep straight faces while saying this. They were all giggling and nudging each other like it was the best joke ever. I felt physically sick. Every time I had stood up for my beliefs, every argument about respecting my choices, every family meal where I thought I was successfully maintaining my principles, it was all a lie. They had been systematically violating my trust and bodily autonomy for years, and then laughing about it behind my back. I got up and left the wedding without saying goodbye. I couldn't stand to be around them for another minute. Since then, my phone has been blowing up with messages from various family members. Some are telling me I'm being dramatic. Others are saying I ruined Sarah's wedding by making a scene, even though I literally just quietly left. My mom keeps saying that you eat meat now anyway, so what's the big deal? My dad, who I thought might understand, texted saying I need to learn to take a joke and stop being so sensitive. My sister sent me a long message about how I'm tearing the family apart over ancient history. None of them seem to understand that this isn't just about the meat. It's about years of deliberate deception. It's about them turning my sincere ethical beliefs into a game. It's about them violating my trust and autonomy, then laughing about it like it was some hilarious prank instead of a systematic betrayal. I haven't spoken to any of them since the wedding. I've been ignoring their calls and messages. Some extended family members have started posting passive-aggressive things on social media about how some people can't take a joke and family should come first. But I keep thinking, if they could do this, what else have they lied about? How can I ever trust anything they say again? How can I ever eat food they prepare? The whole thing has me questioning every memory of my teenage years. So Reddit, Ida for being furious about this? Am I really overreacting like they say? Because right now, I'm seriously considering cutting contact with my entire family over this. I just can't see how I can maintain relationships with people who spent years deceiving me and now won't even acknowledge how wrong it was. Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone who commented on my last post. Your support helped me realize I wasn't crazy for being upset about this. The situation has gotten even more twisted since then, so I thought I should update you all. After my post, I took everyone's advice and stayed firm about keeping my distance from my family. I blocked most of them on my phone but kept my sister unblocked since we work at the same company and sometimes need to communicate about work stuff. It was awkward seeing her in the office, but we managed to stay professional. Last week, my sister asked to have lunch in my office, saying she wanted to apologize. I was hesitant but agreed, thinking maybe at least one family member had realized how messed up their actions were. She started the conversation well enough, admitting the meat tampering was wrong and saying she felt terrible about it. Then she dropped a bomb that made the whole situation even worse. The meat tampering wasn't just about protein or them thinking it was funny. My entire family had been running a betting pool about when I would give up being vegetarian. They had this elaborate system where people would put in money every month. Everyone would pick dates or events when they thought I would crack and start eating meat again. My sister showed me screenshots of an old group chat where they coordinated everything. They would strategically feed me meat on certain days because different people had bet on different occasions. The betting pot grew to over $2,000 because I held out for so long. That's why my Uncle Mike was so loose-lipped at the wedding. He was the one who won the pool. He had bet I would cave during my junior year of college due to health issues. When I actually did start eating meat again because of my anemia, he won big. But here's where it gets even more twisted. This wasn't just about my vegetarianism. My sister revealed they had betting pools for everything I tried to do growing up. When I wanted to learn piano at age 12. They bet on when I quit. When I joined the track team in high school. More bets. When I started applying to colleges. They bet on which ones would reject me. They turned every single one of my interests, efforts, and struggles into a gambling opportunity. The family group chat was full of discussions about odds and potential payouts. They would actively try to influence outcomes to win their bets. Like when I was learning piano, the person who bet I'd quit after 3 months would constantly tell me how hard it was and how I probably wasn't cut out for it. My sister tried to defend all this by saying it was just family fun and that the gambling gave everyone more investment in my life. She actually suggested I should be flattered that they paid such close attention to my activities. When I pointed out how messed up it was to literally bet against your child's success, she just shrugged. The most infuriating part? She said, "At least mom and dad usually bet on you lasting longer than most people thought you would. Like I should be grateful that my parents occasionally bet on me succeeding?" She even had the nerve to say I was probably just jealous because I never got to participate in the betting. She literally said, "If you hadn't been so stubborn about the vegetarian thing, you could have thrown the bet and we could have split the winnings." I lost it at that point. I told her to get out of my office, and not to contact me again except for absolutely necessary work communications. She started crying, saying I was tearing the family apart over ancient history and that I was being cruel for punishing everyone over something that happened years ago. Then she revealed something that made me really worried. Apparently, my parents are planning some kind of intervention because they're concerned about my mental health. They think my inability to take a joke and holding grudges means I must be having some kind of breakdown. My sister warned me they're planning to show up at my apartment this weekend to talk some sense into me. I immediately called my landlord and warned him not to let anyone into my building, even if they claim to be family. I'm staying with my friend Rachel this weekend just in case they try something. Rachel has been incredibly supportive through all this. She's completely horrified by my family's behavior and said her parents would never dream of doing something like this. I'm so angry I can barely think straight. Finding out about the betting has somehow made this whole thing even worse. It wasn't just them disrespecting my choices or thinking they knew better than me. They were actively gambling on my failures and trying to manipulate outcomes for their own entertainment and profit. Every memory I have of family members giving me advice or commenting on my choices is now tainted. Were they trying to help me, or were they trying to win bets? Every time they supported me or discouraged me from something, was it genuine, or were they trying to influence their gambling odds? I'm definitely maintaining no contact now. I'm also looking for a new job so I don't have to work with my sister anymore. I've started documenting everything in case I need a restraining order in the future. Given how they've behaved so far, I wouldn't put anything past them. We'll update again if they try this intervention nonsense or if anything else happens. Right now, I'm just trying to process how my entire childhood and teenage years were apparently just entertainment for my family's gambling habit. Update 2. As many of you requested an update, I'm back with more revelations that honestly make me wish I'd never started digging into all this. Remember how I mentioned looking for a new job to get away from my sister? Well, that led to some discoveries that make the betting pools look almost harmless in comparison. Last week, I had a promising interview at a larger company in my field. Everything was going great until the hiring manager, let's call her Jane, started looking confused while reviewing my resume. She asked me to clarify something. Had I worked at my current company for 6 years or 2 years? Because she had heard different information from her industry contacts. I was confused because I definitely started working there 6 years ago. I still had my original offer letter and emails to prove it. Jane mentioned that she knew someone at my current company who had a very different understanding of my work history. She was polite about it, but I could tell she thought I was lying on my resume. After the interview, I went straight to HR at my current company and requested all my employment records. What I found was shocking. Someone had been systematically altering my employment history in our system. My start date had been changed, making it look like I'd only been there for 2 years. Several of my major projects and achievements had been completely removed from my file. But the worst part? My performance reviews had been altered. Reviews where I'd received exceeds expectations had been changed to meets expectations or even needs improvement. This explained why I'd been passed over for promotions I thought I deserved. It didn't take long to figure out who was behind it. My sister worked in HR and had full access to the system. When I confronted our HR director with proof of the original documents versus the altered ones, they did an investigation and found my sister's digital fingerprints all over these changes. She was fired immediately for employment fraud. But instead of apologizing, she sent me this long, angry email blaming me for everything. That's when she revealed why she did it. There was another betting pool about my career. The family had bets going on how long it would take me to realize I was being held back at work. My sister was actively sabotaging my career progression to manipulate these bets. Some family members had money on me staying at the same level for 5+ years, others bet I would eventually get frustrated and quit. The email included screenshots of recent family group chats that made me sick to my stomach. They've been placing new bets since my first Reddit post, betting on how long I'll maintain no contact, whether I'll press charges against my sister, and if I'll show up at Thanksgiving. They even have side bets on whether I'm in therapy and if I'm dating anyone new. My mom called to scream at me for getting my sister fired. According to her, I should have handled it within the family instead of going to HR. She said I should have just laughed it off and found a new job quietly. Then she had the nerve to suggest I should give my sister part of my salary until she finds new work, since this was all my fault anyway. I've hired a lawyer to help me deal with the employment fraud situation. He's also helping me draft cease and desist letters to my family members. Turns out, what my sister did could actually result in criminal charges, especially since it affected my income and career opportunities. Rachel suggested I check if they've been opening credit cards or accounts in my name, given how comfortable they were with fraud. My lawyer agreed this was a good idea, so I'm running full credit checks next week. At this point, nothing would surprise me anymore. The most disturbing part of all this is realizing how deep this manipulation went. This wasn't just family members making bets for fun, they were actively sabotaging my life to win these bets. They were willing to harm my career, my financial future, and my professional reputation all for their gambling entertainment. I'll update again once I get the credit check results back. My lawyer thinks we might have a case for criminal charges depending on what we find. I never thought I'd be considering pressing charges against my own family, but they've left me no choice. Update 3: I'm back with what will probably be my final update on this situation. After everything that's happened, I finally feel ready to close this chapter of my life and share how it all turned out. The credit checks revealed something I feared but somehow expected. 3 credit cards had been opened in my name that I never knew existed. My parents had opened them when I was in college, claiming they were teaching me about credit but never actually told me about them. They'd been using these cards primarily for their family betting pools and gambling activities. My lawyer helped me file police reports for identity theft. During the investigation, something even more disturbing came to light. My parents hadn't just done this to me, they had opened accounts in my cousins' names too. The whole family gambling addiction ran deeper than anyone realized. They had been using these fraudulent accounts to fund their betting pools for years. The investigation revealed over $50,000 in fraudulent charges across all the accounts they'd opened. My parents are now facing serious criminal charges. The prosecutor said this was one of the most organized cases of family identity theft they'd seen. Something unexpected happened during all this. Some family members actually started coming forward. 2 of my cousins admitted they felt pressured to participate in the betting pools and were relieved it was finally exposed. My Aunt Linda confessed she always felt sick about feeding me meat but was afraid of being ostracized if she didn't play along. She showed me years of group chats where family members who refused to participate were mocked and excluded. My immediate family, though, remains completely unrepentant. My sister lost her house because she couldn't find work after being fired for fraud. Turns out, employment fraud charges make it hard to get hired in HR. She's living with our parents now, and they're all still blaming me for destroying the family. They started a smear campaign on social media, telling extended family and old friends that I'm mentally unstable and making up lies about them. Some relatives who initially supported me have backed away, not wanting to get involved in the drama. Others have chosen sides, leading to huge rifts in the extended family. I moved to a different city for a fresh start. My new job is actually amazing. I've already been promoted twice, now that there's no one sabotaging my performance reviews. Rachel moved with me as my roommate, and honestly, she's been more family to me than my biological relatives ever were. I've blocked my family on everything and changed my phone number. Some of them still try to contact me through fake social media accounts, usually to tell me about new bets they're placing on my life, like when I'll come crawling back or if I'll show up at the next family funeral. I just keep blocking and documenting everything. The hardest part has been accepting that my childhood memories are now permanently tainted. Every achievement I thought I earned, every struggle I thought I overcame, every moment I thought my family was supporting me, they were actually betting against me and sabotaging my success for their entertainment. But you know what? I'm done being their gambling chip. I'm building a new life without their toxic games. I'm succeeding in my career, making real friends, and finally feeling like I can trust the people around me. Sometimes family isn't who you're born to, it's who actually respects you as a person. And for those wondering, yes, I'm still mostly vegetarian. Turns out my food choices are actually my choice now, not part of someone else's betting pool. I'm finally living life on my own terms, and it feels amazing. This will be my last update. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. You helped me see that I wasn't crazy for being upset about this, and gave me the courage to stand up for myself.